All right, so we're here at the garage. We have a few new things done to the aircraft. Most of all, you can see that the airplane is no longer the factory colors anymore. We've begun the process of priming and playing around with some of the different paints we are going to be using on the airplane to kind of see how they react and kind of what level of masking is going to be needed. So to start with, the entire airplane has been coated with this Rust-Oleum 2X primer. This is the flat gray primer. I find this to be outstanding for making sure that you cover up any of the kind of the base paint scheme that we had. So we had the dark blue, the green, and the white on the aircraft. We want to make sure that that is all solidly covered, and the Rust-Oleum 2X is perfect for that. Also, one thing I really like about that, the primer, is it really gives you a good idea on all the surface detail on the airplane. That if you look at it as it comes out of the box in that kind of that dark navy blue, green, and white, you lose a lot of this really cool panel line definition that they've added in here, and a lot of the rivets and things like that, and screws. It kind of hides a little bit in that all dark blue finish. So by painting it gray, you get kind of a cool view on what's going on with the aircraft. It also gives me a good opportunity to see the area where I had filled the exhaust stack and kind of see how that surface is reacting. And I can see already from the primer, I have to do maybe just a little bit more sanding on that. I got a little bit of pitting in the filler there. So that's another good reason why you want to use the primer, so you can look at a lot of those areas. And I can tell that that's going to need a little bit more work. And then also where I had taken the national insignia off and it interfered with the white foam, I could see that I have a little bit of damage on the foam that still needs to be taken care of. So you definitely want to use the gray primer as a great way to look over the aircraft before you start adding your final layers of paint. Speaking of final layers of paint, you can see I've kind of already started some areas on the aircraft, mostly just to kind of get an idea of how well the airplane is going to react to the paint. And this is also the first time that I've used this Tamiya paint, and I want to see how well it reacts on the gray primer. And so far, from what I can tell, it reacts very well. I don't see too many issues. You don't want to get this too close to the foam, because even though it's got factory paint and the gray primer, and in some areas it has the Valspar urethane over the top of it, or the Varathane urethane, you do get some the propellant in the paint attacking the foam. So you just want to make sure you keep a good distance away and just do really light coats. The other thing to note is that these Tamiya spray cans are very small. So I'm going to recommend that for an airplane like this, the 1.2 meter size, you're going to want to get at least 2 cans of the AS8 navy blue. I believe I can get by with just 1 can of the AS19, the intermediate blue. The reason why that is there's not that much surface area that is covered in the intermediate blue compared to the dark blue. Remember, only the half of the outer wing on the bottom is the intermediate blue, and then there's a little bit on the fuselage and the vertical stabilator that is intermediate. So this will go a little bit longer, but the dark blue here, definitely going to need a second can of this. So I would recommend, if you're going to start a project like this, get 2 cans to begin with. It does not last for very long, and just from working on a couple test areas, I'm surprised at how much lighter this can is already. So with that said, the next steps for me are going to be, I'm going to remove the wing, and I'm going to remove the horizontal stabilator and just focus on the fuselage alone. I want to touch up a couple areas where we had filled and primed some things. I also want to kind of make the aircraft a little bit more manageable in terms of size to paint, and I also don't want to have overspray getting on different surfaces as I paint. When I had it flipped upside down and I started with a white base coat on the fuselage, the white paint kind of found its way all over the airframe. And so I want to kind of separate it out a little bit, make it easier for me to mask, easier for me to handle, and a little bit easier to paint without having so many things in the way. So I'm going to go through and remove these areas, touch up a few things that I learned from the primer coat that need to be fixed before I go through and add the top coat. So far, the project is moving along very well. No real big surprises, and it's kind of cool to see the colors starting to come out on the aircraft. And it's amazing what a different look the airplane has from when it came out of the box to when it was in all gray primer to now that it's starting to get the different color blues and whites on it. So it's moving along very well. Everything is right on target where it should be, and it's coming out pretty good. So if you guys got any questions on kind of prepping and beginning the early stages of painting of a foam model, by all means, leave them in the comments below and I'll be more than happy to answer them.